Yeah, hi everyone. So, this is my own personal theory on something. So, I was talking to a friend of mine who may watch this, and he was asking me, an older friend, he was asking me, so he had moved abroad, moved to the UK to be more specific, and he was just like, man, what is wrong with us? Like, I've lived here for months now, and I'm just shedding tears for my country, and what do you think is the problem? Can you just define this problem? And I said, most of us are very quick to judge Nigeria's problem to be leadership, but that's half of the truth. I'm going to say something very strong. Now we have Nigeria's problem can divide into two. There's a spiritual side and there is an intellectual side. Now the spiritual side, I'm not going to be able to comment on it. It's for people who are faith people who understand that some of the problems we've gone through are not humanly possible. They just look like something is just working against us. It's clearly not a natural. I mean, the things are so ironical. The paradox is so many that you just feel this thing can't be natural. And I'm honest. I know it is, and it's because of maybe what is at stake. For those who are understanding what I'm saying, they know what I'm talking about, they know. But let's put that one aside. Now, the reason why that cannot continue to hold water is because we're also a very spiritual country on all sides, whether it's traditional, all the other religions, you understand. There is that element of, we're very spiritual people. But so that's why I feel like that excuse can't hold water for too long. The second part is the intellectual. So we're a country of, and I say people that know me will say I've come again with this my topic, but I'll share it. We're a country of, we're quite incompetent, and we don't know that we're not competent. Now it's okay. If I know where you're going, follow me. You say our leaders are bad, politicians. We blame everything on politicians. Politicians are 30% of the problem. I kid you not. From my exposure and experience, politicians are 30% of the problem. There's another 70 that I will split between. That I would likely give to us, me and you, the ordinary people. We have more than the politicians because you need to remember. So I'll do it like this: 30 politicians, 30 us, me and you, and then the remaining 40 is what I call the system. Follow me. This may be a bit long, but I'm sure you'll learn a thing or two. So, you think our politicians are more unrighteous or they are more wicked than the politicians abroad? I don't think so. They have the same problems. They are a product of the system. I'll give you an example. So we have a technical expert in one ministry somewhere in Abuja. The guy was technically sound. Maybe he was in charge of a particular technology or system or process in government, and he was in charge. He was a technical expert. He was well trained and he has over 20 something, almost 30 years experience. The moment he becomes PAMSEC, that technical capability is shut down by the system. Where he's now in a place to create change, the system shuts him down. How? Number one, he starts to do inefficient things like having to review 500 files in a week. Files. So the system refused to digitize. So he's forced to read files, minute on it. Two, because he's now a PAMSEC, he now becomes political. So he starts receiving inbound requests from people in authority, people requesting, Oga, please, I need my paper done, from all parts of government, pressure. Then his own family people now start putting pressure on him that you are now in government, too. What's up? You're not performing. Everybody starts to hit him. Meanwhile, when he was a technical director, he was sound and he was making things work. Nigerians were getting value that they did not know that was attributed to him. But the moment he became an authority, the system shut him down. That is typically the story of most people in government that we don't know about. 500 files to review that you cannot get stuff done. Now that doesn't stop there. We now have cases where, of course, people just don't want things to work because it's going to benefit them. Now, that's just a random example. Let me just come back to the point. I was talking about incompetence. So it's not as if our political leaders don't know that. It's that they themselves are overwhelmed by the incompetence and the system that they can't even solve problems. So we have a lot of teachers, the Bible does encourage us. It says, "Do not let." It's not everyone should aspire to be teachers, because teachers will be judged to higher standards. We have a lot of teachers. Even me, I'm one in my own category. But the problem with our teaching is that we're all one-sided. Our teaching is largely on the soft issues and honestly like leadership, creative stuff, and we have a lot of online creators. Now I say, is there anything wrong with people that focus on leadership? Well, respectfully speaking, we still don't know how to solve the problem. Let me walk you through a framework. So we have PESTEL, political, economic, social, technical, legal, and environmental. Pestle analysis. Now, when you say pestle analysis, people don't understand that. I'll give an example. If you're abroad, right, if you commit a crime in most countries, they can fish you out in 24 hours. That's a system that is wired across its pestle in a way that gets value. Please follow me. Let me give an example. We have economic problems that we are unable to prefer solutions for because we don't understand the pestle of those things. So, for instance, we are 200 million people. We have land. We have labor. Question, why don't we have solutions that work? You just need to pick 25 things that Nigerians consume. 25 things that you and I consume. Transport, food, clothing. Just 25. 25 is too much. Let's say 5. And you build a complete value chain from production to consumption. And then you start again the cycle. What stops us, for instance, from sitting down with all the people that have been displaced, internally displaced people, which my heart goes out to, in pain? That's why, with all due respect, I'm really sorry about what I'm saying. You see, all those times that things happen in Lagos, and I'm going to offend some people, I'm sorry. Every time we've had any problem in Lagos about injustice that people have trooped on the streets and have protested, I usually don't bother, and I quarrel with people about it because I'm like, you don't come from places where people are displaced. People come from my village and say they've been driven out of the mountains. You understand what I'm saying? That they pursued us. We're with our 1 year, two-day-old babies. We're running, and nobody's bothering to protest. So I'm like, please, we've seen displacement, we've seen injustice. You know, talking about the northeast and the middle belt. But let's come back to that later. But before I digress, what I'm saying is that, so we design a system. Now it's a pestle solution. The problem we usually have is we take on a silo solution, like an economic solution, a legal solution, a political solution. It's a pestle solution. That means you have to see the political, economic, social. The social, for instance, how would you be able to get people? So you go to all these farming villages, all these places where people have been displaced, like I was saying, and then you tell them, you know what, guys, they've already displaced you. You guys are, they have scattered farmlands. It's scattered. So one farmer can be in his own yard and he'll be alone within a 1 square kilometer of area, and he's the only one in that place. That's how big those places. Some of you know Niger State. Niger State is almost the size of Dubai. I kid you not. So here is the point. And you can travel, a place like Ilorin or Kwara State, you can travel 2-3 hours within the same state. Nigeria, you can do 4-5 hours in the same state. Cross River is probably like 7 hours or something. So Nigeria is big. Now, what stops us saying, you know what, guys? Let's move you guys to a central village. Build out a central village that will now form a city, a farming city, where all the things you guys need is there. Your housing, your education. So we know the government, this is what we call economic planning. Political, economic, social. So what you do is you transform a whole generation. So that place, okay, let's say Benue now, they know how to farm yams. So you build out an entire yam village. Now, what about ancestral homes? No problem. The success we'll record in this farm village, we'll take it and go and reinvest and build you new cities in your farms. This is not a case of headsmen coming to run you over. Headsmen don't run over Lekki. They can't. It's development. Do you understand? Development always trumps certain things. And I'm not saying that because there may be deeper issues, and I apologize for those who maybe I'm dealing with the sensitivities. But where I'm going is that that's what you call a pestle solution. So you have to see the whole 9 yards. Let me give another more simple solution. So let's say Lagos. Now, one of the things that people don't understand, a lot of people in my age and group, they always, and I saw that ignorance during the election. We're all after the president. We're all after who's going to be president. Now, that's important. But the truth is that the person who's going to become president is just also 30%. We don't bother about the legislatures, whether state or federal. We also don't worry about local governments. Some of you don't know that the governors have more impact on me and you. The governors of our states have more impact on me and you than the president does. Okay, if you live in Lekki like me, what you observe is that we have very robust, sophisticated estates. Before you get in, there was one, they will call you to, before you send code, all kinds of, there's water, everything's organized. Question, why can't we scale those solutions to local governments? Why can't governments establish local governments that will look like estates? So even the ones that are not like estates, they are not fenced, they can now partition them. So security, water, drainage, all the school, hospital, everything is designed. Your primary healthcare, even to emergency level, at a radius of 3 square kilometers is sorted. So therefore, government can now collect rent more efficiently. We don't see that. We don't have the intellectual capacity and sagacity to process this kind of problem and prefer solutions like that. So it's a clarion call to a lot of the intellectuals in our society. Nigeria's intellectuals are not deep. I repeat, Nigeria's intellectuals are not deep. You say, what do you mean, Emmanuel? I'll tell you why. And I know there are very few, most of the people that I see that are into anything self-help personal, including your humble self, my humble self, and all of us, there are very few of us that operate at a certain level where we're able to prefer solutions. Our problems are always very personalized. It can work for one person, a small group, it can inspire people, can motivate them, but it does not lead to any significant solution when it comes to a national or a subnational problem. We can't. Let me give an example. One of the hardest things to find is to hire a driver. Some of you can bet it. And if you think it's easy, oh no, me, I know how to hire drivers. Please, make a comment. I have clients that want to hire drivers. Why is it hard to hire a driver? Who has sat down and has done a proper analysis and study of the sociology required to hire drivers and design a system and say, this is the theory, not theory, these are the laws of hiring a driver. You want to try house help? But where are the most of Nigerian poor? They are the people in that category. But we don't have economic solutions, political solutions, technical solutions, legal solutions that can deal with that. We don't, because we don't have the intellectual capacity to design those solutions. And we don't know we don't have. We don't even know it. So we go to foreign countries and we admire their sophistication and their design and their systems. Meanwhile, we don't have the people who can design it. And you know why I know that? When we sit down with people in government, a lot of, federal, everywhere, when we sit local and when we're having conversations, you can see that, of course, for very few, for the ones that know what to do, the system stifles them. The system stifles them. And the me and you that should now go and liberate them, we now go against them with our partial, biased and prejudiced perspectives, lacking critical thinking and real solution. So what happens is that when you have these kinds of problems, like I just gave two random examples, what are the practical options politically, because it has to be a pestle analysis across the value chain. Most times that people get into government, we're looking for proposals to send so that we can clean out. That's the truth. And for the religious people amongst us, the faith-based people who are listening to me, especially the clergy who may hear this, I want to appeal to the clergy, and that's my conclusion. Why is the clergy? Because Nigeria is a very religious country, and I think we have to play to that card. A society where, in other foreign countries, religion doesn't drive their motives. Like, let's say Europe, for instance, they are driven by other things. They've gone past religion. They used to be at where we are. So since we are a religious society, I have to appeal to the people that can help to say that, guys, you're not really getting the full facts from your members. I see all the prayers we pray. People who apply for jobs. People don't apply for jobs, they get jobs. People come and share a lot of testimonies on jobs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And I say that with all due respect, but that reality is not complete, because they're actually jobs, but we don't have people who are qualified. And when I say qualified, I'm not talking about certification or training or education. It's also an attitude. It's also a perspective. It's the parable of the talent. It's like that guy that did not bury his talent. Those things he came, with the guy that buried the other two people that used their talent. That mindset, it doesn't exist. I mean, something as easy as executive assistant, one of the most powerful roles that anybody can occupy, is very hard to find. But it's a mindset and a positioning. That maturity where you play music for Saul to drive out the demons from his head, they lack that. And those are the things we need to impart into our members to understand that when it comes to those matters, I mean, with all due respect, those kinds of testimonies should not be shared. Except, listen, as a child of God, if you have a problem with work, it's two things. Number one is you need to be worked on. Your personal development needs to be fixed, because there are jobs. And you can start from anywhere. But the second part is that except it's God himself that says, I want you to slow down. And we are slow down. I'm working on you, so don't be occupied. And I believe in stuff like that. That can happen. But if that's not the case, then you don't have any excuse. You genuinely don't have any excuse. When I say don't have excuse, it's subject to how much and how far you want to go. Emmanuel, you've rambled. You said a lot of things. What am I saying? What I'm saying, Nigerians, is that it's a clarion call. We require the intellectual sagacity, the intellectual competence to solve our problems. It's not because our politicians are wicked people. We ourselves, I don't want to call some countries. You think they're better behaved? People that did their racism, people that did slave trade. Does that make them more righteous than me and you? They're also, but how did they come out of those? Some of them don't even profess some of the things we profess. So why is that? It's not a lack of God. It's not a lack of spirit. It's not a lack of Holy Spirit. For me, it's a case of people don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep going on, right? I give an example. How do you design a system where, if I told someone now to design a system where we can from farmland to table, from farm to table, design a system from farm to table, where in the process you create jobs, you will build value chains, you would fix social problems like education, exposure, women in poverty, youth in poverty. Just design the system. You will not find. You won't find anybody that has the capability to design that system. Now, in the process, you also need to think about the traditional institutions on the value chain that would hinder you, and all the interests, essentially, how to manage interests. You know what I mean by interest? People have interest. Like, design the system in a way that, so I give an example, like local governments now are controlled by a few. If you want to go and do anything there, they're going to fight you. So in your intelligence, if the local government generates, let's say the particular local government generates just 100 million in revenue, 100 million naira a year in revenue, you tell the local government, you know what, I'll take you, and they consume like maybe 80% on salaries, and then the remaining 20% on running recurring costs, and the remaining 20% they squander it. You go and tell them that I'm going to increase it from 100 million naira a year to 500 million naira a year. From the 500 million naira a year, I'll take your salaries to even 150. That means I'll pay local government officials much more. Of course, you have to put a performance management system. So they're going to be trained. Everything. So I'll increase their increment. That 20 that you've been squandering, I'll give you 40 in trust. I'll leave the 20 you eat, and I'll give you the remaining 20 in trust. And then I'll gradually phase them out. That's strategic solution. It's not to go and you can't. They will just. I'm sorry. You can't fight that system. That system is so you strategic. So you're not going to go and. You're not going to go and tell Pharaoh because you can interpret his dream. You're not going to sack him. I'll do a coup for Pharaoh. That's what we now start. No, that's not strategic. What you want to do is like, okay, you guys generate 100 million naira revenue plus your allocations you get every year, and you pay 80 million in salaries, 20 you squander. I'm going to increase it to 500. Out of the 500, I'll increase the salaries. I'll pay people better to 150. I'll keep the 20 you squander. I'll give you another 20 in trust. The other 20 in trust means I will put it in investment vehicles that pays you dividends. Then I'll send you for training and exposure. I'll send you guys abroad for it. That is what you call strategic. So at the end of the day, by the time you clear all the agberos, you clear all the touts, you clear all the interests, because you've already sent their children to school and their children come back home and ask them questions, we can change society. So that is the solution we need. That ability to cook up. So I challenge all of us in the intellectual business. We're quite a lot and we're increasing by the number. We need to sit down and design solutions that actually work across the political, economic, social, technical, legal, and environmental factors. Complete, including the interests that have to be managed. I hope this is helpful. Cheers.